Well, welcome back to America Decides. Just a few moments ago in the Oval Office, President Trump said he is open to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visiting Washington later this week to sign a deal that would grant U.S. access to Ukraine's mineral reserves. This is what the president said Ukraine would receive in exchange.
$350 billion and lots of equipment, and military equipment, and the right to fight on.
This comes just one day after Russian President Vladimir Putin said he is open to selling minerals from both Russia and Russian-occupied areas of Ukraine to the Trump administration. Trump said purchasing these minerals from him is, that is to say Putin, not out of the question. Gracelin Baskaran is the director of Critical Minerals Security Program at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Gracelin, it's great to have you at the desk. Thank you so much for being here. CBS News hasn't confirmed something, but you believe you have some understood language about what's been agreed to between the United States and Ukraine. What is it?
President Trump and Zelensky reached an agreement earlier this afternoon on a minerals deal. It's the first of its kind.
Wow.
And the minerals deal looks a bit different to where we started. Originally, President Trump had said he wanted $500 million to be repaid for former military assistance that had been provided. And President Zelensky said, but we didn't get $500 billion.
They didn't.
No, it's closer to, I think, in the ballpark of $128 billion.
Correct.
So we've seen that $500 billion figure disappear.
Okay.
We've also not seen a security guarantee. President Zelensky was hoping to have a security guarantee included in it. It didn't. Instead, it's a very high level of agreement that basically says that they will set up a fund for future monetizable assets where 50% of the revenue will go into this fund, and that can be used to fund things like future reconstruction of Ukraine. There's a lot of unknowns that are left at a high level, like will we jointly develop assets? Hasn't really been ironed out.
So, as I understand it, there are some things in Ukraine of interest to the United States. Lithium, graphite, titanium, zirconium, things like antimony, gallium, germanium. These are all things necessary for either weapons or high-tech equipment. I'm generalizing, correct? Those are all the things that we're sort of interested in.
You got it exactly right.
Okay. They're hard to get to. Mining takes a long time, and it's expensive to find them. And do we even know how much of these things Ukraine actually has?
You're asking the exact questions that I think a lot of the private sector is asking. We're relying on data that's 30 to 60 years old and that was generated by the Soviet Union. At that time, technology which was much older. Some of the minerals that we talked about for advanced semiconductors were not things that we were thinking about as being particularly important. And importantly is we basically have made an agreement with very little data. So you've seen this to largely be a government conversation without the private sector.
And let's be candid. This war has ravaged Ukraine on many levels, among them infrastructure. And having read your reports on this, you can mine all you want, but if you don't have the means by which to move the materials through infrastructure that is reliable and resilient, you don't have much.
Absolutely. Transportation infrastructure is really important, but even energy. I mean, close to 1/5 of the world's energy is used on the mining industry. And a lot of this energy infrastructure was bombed out during...
Intentionally by Russia.
Very intentionally. So not only do I have to build a mine and take the risk of developing a mine, I now have to finance significant infrastructure development to actually make these resources monetizable.
It's interesting yesterday, French President Emmanuel Macron was asked if France would be comfortable with this kind of arrangement. And he said yes, because it would be a very good security agreement for Ukraine. The United States would have a vested interest in wanting to maintain its deal with Ukraine. Therefore, that would suggest it was interested in its long-term sovereignty and its protection. Is that implied, do you think, in this kind of conversation, whatever they've signed or agreed to?
The hope is that there would be security guarantee, but I can tell you that the private sector feels a little bit differently. Is without intentional, explicit agreements about long-term security. The electoral cycle is only 4 years long. It takes 18 years to develop a mine, and on average globally, and then the mine can run for another 30 to 80 years. So we're talking about a period that is much longer than the security guarantee of one United States president. And that's where an explicit written guarantee is more valuable than the implicit guarantee, because already this agreement supersedes any trade agreement we have with Ukraine.
And if I hear you correctly, those who would be in the private sector and want to develop this want to see that in print. They want to know what they're getting themselves into before they plunge all these many millions or hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever it costs to try to extract these minerals.
Absolutely. I mean, as you opened with, I mean, Putin is already negotiating with minerals on Russian-occupied land. So it's, the private sector is kind of stepping back and saying, how do we know there's not more land that he's going to occupy and try to negotiate minerals with? So there's already this counter precedent of negotiating with minerals on occupied land.
Gracelin Baskaran, I don't think you could have had a better guest to help us understand this or actually pull back some of the curtains on what may have been agreed to. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.